What is making headlines on the local dailies before we talk matters state of the education here in the country? And like I said, all my three panelists are already here. Very good morning to you, Mr. Oruku.
Good morning. Thank you, Ian, for inviting me to be here.
A pleasure having you.
Yeah.
Dr. Ombaka, yet again, thank you very much for making time.
Thank you very much for giving me another opportunity to be here.
Thank you. Mr. Sosion, very good morning.
Good morning. And good morning our viewers wherever they are, all over the Republic of Kenya.
Thank you very much for making time.
Thank you.
Now,
Ian, can we collectively just pass our condolences to the families of, who lost their loved ones in that school, because it is such a tragedy. And indeed, it is happening at a time when all of us thought that our children are safe in school. So something really needs to be done. But we say sorry, sorry, sorry to the parents, to the teachers, and even their fellow students, because indeed, those who know that my friend is dead, it will traumatize them for quite some time.
Of course.
Our condolences to them. Thank you.
Okay. Now, I want us to look at what is making headlines in the local dailies. And I want us to begin with the Standard this particular morning. And I don't know, I want to begin with you, Mr. Sosion. They say, officer gone rogue. Acting IG, Gilbert Masengeli, has been summoned 7 times before the court and he has failed to appear. I mean, this is a case of someone who's supposed to uphold the rule of law, totally disregarding it. Yeah,
indeed. Yeah, I mentioned the same in another media house last Friday. Every Kenyan summoned to court must take individual responsibility. If the president himself has complied with court rulings and court directions, totally 100%. And he said he will run a government that complies with the rule of law and the Constitution. Who is this police officer who doesn't want to comply? And the police have been given the independent autonomy and accounting powers and responsibilities. An office was not summoned to court, but an individual, the occupant, the person of the occupant of that particular office was summoned to appear in court. There is nothing so strange with appearing in court, because as law-abiding citizens, we should not promote impunity. It doesn't matter who you are. Even if the president is summoned to court, he may appear if he so wishes. So really, we cannot lead in promoting impunity. The police have been implicated, and there are many issues around security of Kenyans, ranging from Shakahola. How do you explain so many Kenyans who died over time and were buried without the knowledge of our security apparatus? How comes we have so many bodies dumped in the quarry, and how comes the criminal suspect of the quarry killings escaped in police custody in Gigiri? and nobody can explain to us, and it looks like it's normal. Okay. Now, when you are summoned to appear in court in relation to
this is
yes,
3 men were abducted 22 days ago.
In relation to abductions, and whether you have knowledge or not, you should appear. Okay. I think that's the height of impunity, and the judiciary should do its work without limitation. So for me, I don't defend anybody who promotes impunity.
Fair enough.
Whatsoever.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Dr. Mbaka, as a lawmaker yourself, what do you make of Masengeli's behavior?
First of all, nobody is above the law in this country. So he is not above the law. 2, he holds such a powerful position in society. He's answerable to so many issues that affect us in this country. Appearing before the court does not mean he's guilty or he's innocent. He's just going to give a statement and he's going to explain what happened. What's wrong with performing his duty? Why is he afraid? Why is he not turning up? What does he know about the 3 persons that are missing? Why doesn't he want to take responsibility for his job? Does it mean that he's incapable, therefore he needs to be sacked? Somebody should be replaced? He's demonstrating to us that he's not capable of managing that office. That is my take. I just feel he's not suitable because he's not responsible. He does not want to take responsibility. 7 times you've been summoned to court and you do not appear. You have no excuse. You do not tell us why you are not appearing. You are not sick, so you cannot say you are in hospital. You have not traveled abroad, so you cannot say you are absent. This is a person who is available, but he's just simply not turning up. Okay. What does it tell of his character for that position that is so serious and so important in this country?
Very well put. Mr. Oruku, yes. I don't know what you make of this particular issue, because lawyers say he should be declared unfit to hold public office.
Definitely, a person who disregards the rule of law is one who is not fit to be holding any public office. So he's actually the one who has discharged himself of that responsibility. 2, I think I should have started by saying, you can imagine the families of Bob Njagi and the 2 others, what they're feeling. I just pray that Bob Njagi and the others are still alive. Unfortunately, the history of Kenya is replete with such abductions that end up either not investigated at all, people just disappearing like that. But I only pray, because I think many Kenyans know Bob Njagi. You've encountered him and the work that he does. I hope that they are safe wherever they are, that whoever is holding them maybe is just malicious, wants to extort something, but in the event that something happens to them, I think the IG is fully responsible, but not just that. The IG is responsible to the president on how the president governs this country. So the president should actually what is happening. Why? Very important.
Constitutional Commission is an independent entity. I don't think legally and constitutionally it's under the direction of the president. It is not. Only the president is the chairman of the National Security Council, which is a different thing. So I think we should all be candid here and ask the police to be accountable to Kenyans and comply with the law and ensure security of the lives of Kenyans and their property as a police. I don't think the president...
Just remind my brother that it's the president who appoints the IG.
It's the appointee of the president,
yes,
exactly.
That's the only comment I would give.
The president, of course, appoints so many constitutionally.
Yes.
That is why I say, because he's an appointee of the president should sack him.
We should
because he's failing the president.
I mean, 7 times is...
Yeah, he's failing. He's failing the system. He's failing the government. He's not performing his work. And here are cases of people disappearing. How do they feel? What is the feeling of the parents?
It amounts to total impunity.
Yeah, he's in impunity.
Our president, the current president, has asked 2 IGs to take a walk. He has done so. So he can do so.
Masengele should not be any exception.
In fact, he's acting.
Masengele is acting. There is a new IG on the way. That's a fact for sure.
Yeah, but it should not be irresponsible just because another one is on the way.
But let me tell you one thing, Kaitan.
It doesn't mean that because he's acting, he should disregard the law.
But let me tell you,
the law is the law.
Yes, and I've said very clearly, he must take personal responsibility of the consequences of the contempt actions against the court. That is personal responsibility.
Let me ask you.
That is number one. Number two, the only clarification I'm making here is that once you are appointed to an office, you can't expect to run the office through the direction of the president.
Let me ask you, Mr. Sosion.
Yes.
As a citizen of this country, your safety should be the president's concern because he's the head of state. Yeah. 3 people are missing here.
Sure.
No, you know, Kaitan, let us not bring the name of the president.
It's okay.
To criminal action of an individual
let's just move
who
on.
has violated
Fair
the
enough.
law and who has failed in his duties.
Keitan, I just want us to know that if this, the IG gets away with this, the next IG will do the same. And there's going to be a culture of disrespecting the court. People will really continue to refuse to go to court when they are asked to go to. So we need to have him punished severely so that in future we do not have a repeat of such a behavior.
Before you move there,
I think we are unanimous. We are unanimous. Let the court take action. Let the acting IG, let the IG take personal responsibility.
Judiciary
let us not drag the name of the
let that teeth bite.
We will wait.
Let that teeth bite.
We will wait for the sentencing which is set for Friday by Judge Lawrence Mugabe.
Let the president dismiss him. It's not worth it.
Fair enough.
It's not worth the job.
Fair enough. There's a story on the Daily Nation, and I want to begin with you, Dr. Mbaka, as a politician yourself. I mean, this is what I'd term as a plot twist. Former presidential candidate Abdul Badida is, in prison in the United States, in Illinois, for, is in prison for, he was sentenced to 7 years in prison for stalking and intimidating unidentified unidentified individual in a Midwestern U.S. state. I mean, from being one presidential candidate who even, got more votes, garnered more votes than one of many politicians in the country in the presidential election that particular year, to being in prison in the United States. I mean, people asking, where is Abdul Badida? Little did they know that he's in prison in the U.S.
Even me, I'm surprised. I never knew he was there, and I didn't know he's in prison. And a man of his caliber, somebody who actually contested to be the next president of this country, it's unfortunate that that has happened. I just feel, I'm sorry about that. I feel bad that it is him who we thought could actually be the president of this country. He reached the bar to be a candidate for presidency. It's not a mean achievement. His attempt to become the president of this country elevates him to a higher status. And for this kind of crime in a foreign land is even more tragic. I just don't know what to say more about that. But human error, human mistakes. I don't know why he got tempted to stalk somebody. It's just that it's showing that maybe God made it clear that he was not fit for the job in this country.
What do you make of,
Thank you, Ian. It is unfortunate. Dida, if you come to my house, Dida has disoriented my house because people in my house say they'll eat when they are hungry. Initially, we used to eat together as a family breakfast. It's timed. But nowadays, I think Dida is the only person who reached out to some generation here and spoke to them so eloquently on certain things. So it is unfortunate that such a character, a citizen of this country, and not just him alone. I know we are having several other people. You remember the case of the Sudan 4. So we have such cases. And I know many of you have traveled. Justice out there could also be having other clothings, which may be different from the way we perceive them. I would suggest that any time that a Kenyan citizen gets into such problems, at least exhaustion, just following up to ensure that his right of appeal and all that are exhausted. And so that how then do we ensure that we protect our citizens everywhere? Guilty, the verdict of guilt is only rendered by the judiciary or justice system, wherever it is. So as for now, because the information we are having through the Daily Nation, for me, I think I have not gotten sufficient content. I may not know, but I know that in the US, for instance, I mean, I've traveled, sorry to say it is, but I've traveled in that country a number of times, and I know there are certain things that may make you really feel like, is this the civilization we talk about? So if you talk about that, let me not preempt a few other things, because cases of people stalking or people trying to do one or two things, I've witnessed some of those cases. But I'm not so sure that is the exact thing that happened. So I'm just sorry that it happened to the Dida family back in Kenya here and all that. We pray with them, and we hope that Dida would be, okay, justice would be rendered, is the right of appeal to whichever level, and the Kenyan government would ensure that our citizens do not serve in those foreign jails.
Okay,
thank you.
Fair enough. Mr. Susian, I don't know if you have something to say in regards to that.
Well, I've been reading this story the whole night and trying to know exactly what was the case, and the argument here is the accusation is stalking somebody and threatening somebody. That somebody is not actually disclosed as who. But you see, the American justice system, the criminal justice systems all over the world are not the same. American criminal justice system is extremely thorough, very thorough. That's what my fellow panelists should also know. And even all calls, any call that you make is recorded, and you are cautioned that your call will be recorded. So when you accuse somebody, it is not very difficult to produce evidence. So it's the evidence that that convicts you. It is not a judge, it's evidence and the law. And these are questions that many Kenyans really ought to know. If you do the small silly things that you think are normal here in Kenya, in China, you'll find yourself being hanged. So in other jurisdictions, it's important we get to know that the society has more stricter laws, criminal justice laws that are not lenient the way we do here. You see, I sometimes marvel even in these shows when you say, oh no, you see, we should be able to reduce corruption by 50%. Now, meaning we are admitting that let us live with corruption but reduce. But you can't say it in another country.
In Japan.
You can. If you are produced in court at 9 o'clock, by 3 o'clock, if you are being hanged. It's done so expeditiously.
Fair enough.
Criminal justice processes are very, very strict and harsh in other countries. So I think it's a learning example for those of us. Like now, we want to export Kenyans out of our jurisdiction. And if we are exporting Kenyans to other jurisdictions, they ought to know that some countries, the laws are extremely strict. That you've got to be extra careful the way
the country, Kenya should actually pay attention to our people who are out of the country, our citizens abroad. The people in the diaspora need to be taken care of. We need to follow up how they live there, whether they are mistreated or not mistreated. How do they survive? Because other countries take care of their citizens when they're in other countries. They follow them to the last minute. So I think our government should put an eye on what's going to happen to him, what is actually the accusations, how best can we help if we can, so that he can come back and the case can rest.
I was in Saudi Arabia. I was in Saudi Arabia 2 years ago. 2 years ago, and this is important. Saudi Arabia, the constitution of Saudi Arabia is a Quran. There's no other written law. It is simply the Quran. And in Saudi Arabia, all hotels, and within the jurisdiction of Saudi Arabia, alcohol is not permitted at all. It is not sold anywhere, it is not. But we found Kenyans who are working in Saudi Arabia, particularly these house helps and the rest, they found ways of brewing alcohol, illegal brew, because that is the only way you can access alcohol. So if really, within that jurisdiction, we have Kenyans who have gone there and they're busy trying to access alcohol by brewing themselves. You know, you are putting yourself in total jeopardy with with the laws of that particular country. And we must appreciate certain cultures, certain civilizations, and they are very, very strict laws. For me, let us understand the strict laws.
It's a question of when you're in Rome, do what the Romans do.
It's interesting because we have a Kenyan detained in Saudi Arabia by the name Stephen Muyako, and is said to be executed on 26th of November this year for the murder of a Yemeni man. And the family is trying to raise around 100 million shillings, and they've so far raised around 11 million.
So one thing I wanted to get back to, I think we should also stop over-glorifying the U.S. judicial system. Just recently, I mean, the rot in there is being exposed to us. That one man who can even organize insurrection of their own capital is now actually a one of the front runners for the presidency. And indeed, that even their own Supreme Court has declared that he is immune to the actions that he carried out as a president. So, and how to distinguish that. So, in other words, I'm saying, when we talk about judicial system, because judicial system have people who are human and they understand. I think for Kenyans, the basic principle, as Dr. Mbaka said, let no citizen of the country be subjected to all those kind of things. When we have our Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Affairs, they should be checking to ascertain what really is happening there.
Fair enough. We are running out of time. I want us to take a brief breather. But before we go, just 30 seconds, Dr. Mbaka. Last time when you were here, we were talking about what awaits John Mbadi. He's now proposing that VAT will be, he's saying VAT will be reduced from 16 to 14%. A similar scenario was witnessed in 2020 when former President Uhuru Kenyatta did reduce that particular VAT to elevate Kenyans from the effects of COVID-19. A reprieve for Kenyans?
Yeah, I think that's a good move. We look forward to seeing that happen because, you know, the situation we are in. Financially, this country is overburdening citizens with tax, which is paid in every little thing that we purchase. You pay tax. And Kenyans are not being paid on time. Salaries are low, and tax is so high. The life is so difficult and so expensive. So Mbadi is coming up with a new proposal, and I hope it's going to be practical, and I hope it's going to be implemented as just not sheer words that he's just talking about. I hope it's not just lip service. He's going to implement what he's saying, and he's going to propose it. When it comes to Parliament, for sure, it will be passed, because we all want to have our tax reduced.
Fair enough. You can get details on that particular story on the People Daily on page 4. It talks about the proposals by the new CS4 Treasury, that is CPA John Mbadi. But at this particular moment in time, I just want us to take a brief breath, and then we'll be back with, of course, the conversation surrounding the state of education here in the country. Don't go away.